rope stretching, Perkins coaching style. So you can either use a strap, like a yoga strap. This is called stretch out strap. Easy to find on the internet. One of my favorite things is just a super band. And so what you're going to do is you're going to start by pumping 10 times. You're going to intentionally squeeze and engage that quad, because when you engage a muscle, it makes the opposite one let go. So while we're intentionally just focusing on squeezing the quad, what we're actually doing is opening up the hamstring and hip a little bit. So 10 pumps here, I'm approximating, and then we're going to do 10 pumps here. Same idea, squeezing the quad. 7, 8, 9, 10. And then I like to actually bend the leg that's not working when I go to my straight leg pumps, and I use my abs and my quad to pull together, and that allows the hamstring and the hip to open up. So again, we're going to go 10 here. Notice how I kind of curl up and then relax. 7, 8, 9, 10. And same idea. And the reason I keep the leg up on the non-working leg for this one is it just allows me to get a little bit more range of motion. So squeezing the quad, the abs. Notice I'm using my arms to make the movement happen. I'm not pulling up with the leg, even though I am squeezing the quad muscle. 9 and 10. The next thing I like to do is go into a bit of a corkscrew. So I like to come down and up. So tuck the foot in. And these ones we want to keep dynamic. So we're not going to stop at any point in any of these. This one is not really, you're not doing too much squeezing of any opposing muscles for this. You're just allowing the movement to happen. About 10 on each side. And if you hear some popping and clicking in your hips or knees, as long as it's not painful, it's probably not problematic. But if it's painful, you need to modify your range of motion. Nine and 10. And then one of my favorite parts of the rope stretching routine is this one. So I'm going to come open. I'm going to keep both hips on the ground. I'm going to take about 3 deep breaths while I'm laying here, and I'm using my arm to hold my leg up. And then I allow it to go down and around. And then I stop at when I find my sticking point, keeping my hip on the ground. 3 deep breaths here. And then I go up and around, and I do 3 circles that way. I'm intentionally breathing into the area that's stretching. Down and around. And one more circle. Off to the side. Sometimes I like to bounce it a little bit with my arm just to keep my muscles from flexing. This one we're not activating any muscles to do this. We're just letting our leg be like dead weight. And then down and around. Do the other leg. So we're going to just let it fall open, keeping both hips on the ground. And then we're going to come down and around. Find your stepping point. Breathe into that hip. And then up and around. Let it fall open. Little bounces if you need to keep your body from activating the muscles. Down and around. Really breathing into the hip or whatever you're stretching here. Allowing muscles to relax. And then one more circle up and around. And down and around. All right, and then we're going to flip over, and I like to catch a toe in my rope while I'm flipping, so I don't have to try to figure out how to get my foot back there. And this is important to keep the pelvis tucked hard into the floor. So I'm tilted into the floor, and I'm going to, there's three parts to this. You're going to squeeze the glute, lift the knee, and then pull with your arms and immediately let go. We're not wanting to arch the back at all, okay? So you're gonna press the pelvis into the floor. And now, squeeze, lift, pull, release for 10. Squeeze, lift, pull, release. We'll call that 4, 5, 6, and as you get stretched out, you can sort of scoot your knees together. 7, 8, squeeze, lift, pull, release. And one more. All right, and now the easiest way to switch sides is by tucking your other toe in, pushing that pelvis forward into the floor, and you're going to go squeeze, lift, pull, release. Squeeze, lift, pull, release for 10. Keeping the movement dynamic, not stopping anywhere in the range of motion. And again, readjusting your knees to come together as you get more flexible and mobile. Squeeze, lift, pull, release. You should feel this in the front of your hip, where your hip flexor is, down in the quad, and maybe even up in the oblique area a little bit in the ab. I'm going to do 3 more. Squeeze, lift, pull, release. Squeeze, lift, pull, release. Last one. All right. So we've gotten our hips, our quads, our hamstrings, and then to open up our chest a bit, we can bring the rope like so, come up, squeeze the shoulder blades together, and then release. Squeeze the shoulder blades together, release for 10. This opens up our chest. It stretches out our breathing muscles around our ribs called our intercostals. It just helps to open up our front chain, which can get really tight while we're running, but also from a lot of our computer work and our office work. I'm going to call this 9, 10. So that's rope stretching.